Tennessee WildCast is live on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right, hello everybody and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're excited about today. We are remote on location in Dyersburg, Tennessee at the Dyersburg work base for the agency. Excited about being here today and being out on the road for Tennessee WildCast. Miss Amy Spencer is my co-host today, and glad she's here with us. She's helping out, and we are in her territory in West Tennessee. And as you're watching the screen, if you're watching Tennessee WildCast today, you are seeing some turtles, snapping turtles. We're talking snappers today.
Yes, we are.
So we're pretty excited about that. It's going to be fun. Got a great guest with us. Interesting background here, and great to see what Miss Saidee is doing with snappers as a graduate research project. So anyway, that's on tap for today. But first, we want to hit some current events, some topics, and things we want to hit before we start talking snappers. And the first thing I want to hit, and we'll show that on the screen. And Mr. Don King's running camera for us today. We got some new gear, and we're working on some of the technology. But today we're one camera with some movement. So here we go.
Instead of our normal 3.
Yeah, normal. Yeah, it's a little different today. Hey, look at this crappie. What do you think about that, Amy?
It's huge.
Well, guess what?
It is the new world record. It is confirmed.
How did you know that?
I got the email yesterday.
Okay, yeah. All right, so that is the new world record crappie, black crappie, weighing in at 5 pounds, 7.68 ounces. So that's pretty cool. Lionel Ferguson.
It is, and we had it on there, about a month ago on the Facebook page, and it went viral of possible new world records and, of course, state record, and we just got the confirmation back. It was confirmed. DNA on it proves that it is a black crappie.
It is not a hybrid. It's a true black crappie, and we have a new world and state record black crappie. So that's pretty cool. So, hey, next thing I want to hit is quota hunt. Quota hunt time is now, actually today.
Yes, started today, and you've got to July 25th by midnight to get your applications in. You can do it online or actually go to a real agent, either way.
Right. So check that out. It's online and et cetera, and get your preferences in, and hopefully you get
your elk hunts are in there for all those that want to. I know I always put in. Just you never know.
You never know.
Never know.
Are you eligible?
I am eligible.
I guess so. I guess we are. So the chances are an opportunity. The chances are there.
Yep.
And then and you can also buy the raffle ticket this year.
Yes, that's actually when I bought my license early in the year. I did that. Did the chance for the raffle ticket. So
$10. You can do as many chances as you want. And,
I just bought one.
and those chances are you can increase the odds by the number of tickets. So
it's like the lottery. Somebody's got to win it.
Mm-hmm. Somebody will. One other thing we want to hit on, and I'm going to transition to the screen here, is the quick guide. We do this every year, and we try to keep everybody, make it easy for the hunters and anglers, or hunters, I guess, in this case.
It's just a quick summary.
Yeah, a quick summary of the seasons and easy guide. So if you look on the home page and you click 2018-19 hunting season summary, it goes to a PDF, and I'll zoom in a little bit there for your folks at home if you're watching. There's the quick guide: deer seasons, turkey, game birds, migratory birds, elk, bear, et cetera, et cetera.
And I just screenshotted it to my phone, so I've always got it if I need to go look at something.
There you go. That would make it real easy. Just screenshot that, have it on your phone all the time. Now there's more details in the hunting guide, which will be coming out pretty soon. Make sure you always reference that for the fine print.
Yes.
Extra details you need to be aware of. So.
This replaces the old pocket cards that we used to give out at the check stations that everybody would love to get a hold of. But this makes it easier. Just screenshot it, put it on your phone. You can just take a quick look at it.
Yep. All right. The next thing I wanted to hit on was the velvet season. That's coming up in August 24th through the 26th. It's a new 3-day hunt that we're doing. It's an early deer hunt.
It is. So it's going to be hot, but it's going to be interesting.
And is that archery only? Right?
That is archery only, private land, antlered deer.
Okay, yeah. So
So
antlered, private land, archery only. So
yeah, we're getting questions. Is one of our WMAs apply? No, they do not. Has to be private land, just like our doe hunts that we have at the end of the year in Unadale. It's the same thing, same type of hunt, just private land only.
There you go. Also, Operation Dry Water. That's something we do every year, trying to curb accidents and
It's a heightened awareness for an enforcement weekend. We'll have
right.
an increased boating presence on the water. Officers are trained in the detection of boating under the influence, and they will be looking for that. That is June 29th through July 1st, and you'll probably see some billboards across the state and some banners and some things, but you will see an increased presence on the water.
Yep. So be safe out there on the water. While we're talking about water, there's always boating education courses out there that you can take and
Go online to find those
yep.
under the boating page.
Under the boat, TWRA. So the last thing I want to hit on before we talk to Saidee is Doug Markham. You've seen him on the show many times, and he's our main co-host and normally on with me, but he has decided that it's time for him to retire.
Hanging it up, going home.
Anyway,
enjoy the other life.
It's kind of sad that we're going to miss him, but
yes, we are.
He's going to enjoy retirement. So check back in with us next week. We're going to try to get him on next week for his final show as an agency employee, but we'll get him back many times. We'll try to get him back in here and help out. So, Doug, if you're watching this morning, we'll see you next week.
Yep, you're going to be on. You just don't know it yet.
So, anyway, he's got to now. Anyway, I think that's about it.
I think that's it.
Thanks for watching on Facebook if you're out there watching this morning. And if you're listening on the radio, you're listening a few days late, but thanks for listening on the radio.
And we appreciate that. We're starting to get some more stations picking us up, and that's great. We're getting our message out there.
Yep. All right, well, let's transition to Miss Saidee Hyder. She is from Southeast Missouri State University. She's a grad student there, and she is working with the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency on an alligator snapping turtle movement in West Tennessee.
Yeah, about a month ago, I think I posted some pictures and a little write-up what your project, what you're doing. Mm-hmm. We went down to Wolf River and did a little visit. So, Saidee, tell us about yourself.
Well, like you said, I'm a graduate student. I'm getting my master's. I just finished my first year in my master's degree, so I got one more to go. I'm originally from Missouri. I've lived in Missouri my whole life, but I feel like Tennessee is my second home at this point, especially West Tennessee.
Yeah, you're really starting to know that.
Yeah, I think I know West Tennessee a little better than I know my home in Missouri.
The rivers of West Tennessee.
Yeah, the rivers for sure. And I'm from Springfield, Missouri originally, which most people know that area for the Bass Pro and all of those things. For fun, when I grew up on cattle farms in the southern part of Missouri around the Ozarks. So I've always been an outdoorsy person. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do much hunting, but I did a lot of fishing with family and rode a lot of horses, worked a lot of cows. I've done a little of everything.
That's great.
Well, I think horse trailers transitioned me into boat trailers.
At least you knew how to drive a trailer.
Yeah.
How to back one in.
Right.
Speaking of horse trailers, Miss Amy here, she likes to ride and does a lot with horses and dogs.
I do. And, I say this all the time. Everyone that has a driver's license should be able to pull a trailer and back a trailer and know what it's like to drive down the interstate with people darting in and out of you.
Oh, man.
That should be a requirement.
It should.
So,
yeah. Especially when you get going up hills and people get upset behind you because you just pull a little bit slower when you got a big trailer out behind you,
Don't get so mad.
Right.
So what got you interested in alligator snapping turtles? Is that something you've always thought about working with, or that just kind of?
Actually, no. It's kind of an interesting story on how it happened. So I did my undergraduate at University of Central Missouri, which is southeast of Kansas City. And my freshman year, I didn't really know what I wanted. I just liked the outdoors. I liked biology, so I just was in general biology classes like most people do when they first start. And I got to be a sophomore, and it was summertime, and my mom was like, you really need to have a summer job. You can't just sit around the house anymore. You're a college student. Yep. And so I was, really bummed. I was going to have to, work at Walmart or something, And I had a friend, I was actually in a sorority in my undergrad, so I had a sorority sister named Eva who she had just graduated and just started at Missouri State University for her master's program. And she asked me, she was on Facebook and was like, I need a tech for the summer, basically, for my master's. And I was like, I'd rather do that than work at Walmart. Yeah. And so I was messaging her. And anyway, so it all turned out really great. And I ended up in northern Oklahoma on the Caney River. and was trapping for alligator snapping turtles.
Oh, really?
For her master's, because Missouri
Cool.
State actually has a really good collaboration with Oklahoma, working with like Tishomingo National Fish Hatchery and a couple other collaborators trying to help preserve those populations. So it kind of all started with alligator snapping turtles. So after that summer, and it was a really great field site. We camped for 3 months in tents, and and we were like on the boat every day, setting gill nets and cutting up bait and
Better than a
catching-
real job.
Yeah, and catching lots of turtles. And I was like, man, I'm being paid all summer to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
This is great. And so then I got back into school the next semester, and I was like, I want to do ecology. Like, I want to be wildlife, outdoors. And then that summer just pretty much put me on the path to helping out with a bunch of other graduate student projects and doing all kinds of stuff, and led me to work for the Missouri Department of Conservation for a summer and get some experience with fish and more with boats and all kinds of stuff. And
That's awesome.
it just kind of put me on that path, and I'm really excited to be here and be doing what I'm doing. It's really great.
And you were telling me before the show that through the Tennessee Aquarium,
how it came about.
Yeah,
So this whole project kind of started before me, I think 3 years ago now.
Yeah, you're the second grad
I'm
student.
the second graduate student on the project. So the first year of it was kind of just getting it all set up. But basically, Rob Colvin started out.
Which is here in West Tennessee.
Yeah, he's West Tennessee, Region 1.
Our non-game guy.
He wanted to work with her turtles. He's a herpetology guy. He told me, I asked him about it the other day. He told me he really wanted to do a cool research project that nobody had done, and alligator snapping turtles need some research in West Tennessee. So he kind of lit that fire and started doing some trapping on his own for the agency and doing some stuff for you guys. And then my advisor, Dr. Davenport, and Josh Ennin at the Tennessee Aquarium Conservation Institute heard about it, and they were really excited, and they're like, we would love to get in on this and get some grad students, get you some help, and really make this a big project. And he was like, yeah, of course, let's do it. So Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, you guys have a grant that they applied for and got, and then it just became this big collaboration.
Yeah, we started the
really
partnership
cool.
in 2015.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And so the first graduate student basically just kind of set the precedence for trapping and surveying, and worked mostly in Southwest Tennessee. And then I came in last summer and got to start working on the northwestern part of Tennessee. And then this summer we're kind of just hitting everything we've missed.
Now,
across.
we were talking earlier. We have reintroduced turtles into West Tennessee.
Yes.
We've done, I think, 450 approximately in the last 18 years.
Yes.
But you all have found in your research some native populations that are non-introduced turtles.
Yes. So the first graduate student on the project found on some private land a population of native alligator snapping turtles, which was a really cool discovery, because it was just one of those things, some local fishermen, it's like a popular spot for some friends or family or something, and they, of course, claimed to have seen them, but they didn't have pictures, and we were like, well, let's trap it, let's see what they have. And it turns out it was like a big population, and it was thriving and doing well, and we're really excited that it's there, and that they're doing well, and that we didn't have to put them there, So they are in West Tennessee.
That's cool.
You always hear that, well, I saw one, but,
Yeah,
but
you
most
never
of
know.
it's older stories of.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's part of it too, is a lot of people are like, well, back 20 years ago they were here.
Right.
And of course, over time they may not be there anymore.
But
or they
Tennessee
might.
has deemed them in need of management, and that
Yes.
is because of we've had a loss of population and other factors.
Yeah, I would say it's mainly due to, for most of the alligator snapping turtle range, there's a lot of overexploitation, especially in the 60s and 70s. And for turtles, they're such a long-lived species that when you really cull out those adults really fast all at once, it takes the juveniles, even if they do survive, because juveniles have very low survival rate anyway, because even big fish can eat little turtles, then it takes them 10, 20 years to sexually mature. And so then that population, even if it is still there, may not bounce back for 20 years after you've taken out all those big adults. So when turtle soup was really popular across the U.S., not just here in Tennessee, that happened. And it just turns out alligator snapping turtles take a lot longer to bounce back than maybe other turtle species, or maybe they're a little more habitat specific, so they don't
Yeah,
bounce back as
we're
easily.
losing habitat. It seems like it's faster and faster every year.
Yeah, that's a big problem too. I think the combination probably did a lot of work on them. I think the overharvest really pushed it, and then having that habitat loss that certainly doesn't help,
Right.
them bounce back from something like that. So
Now, your thesis is just studying the movement in West Tennessee.
yeah, so one of the reintroduced populations and along the Wolf River that we found again 10 years later is still doing well. And so my thesis is I put some transmitters out. There's about 16 turtles that I'm tracking, and I'm just seeing what they're doing, maybe why that population did better than other reintroductions that we haven't been able to find again as of yet. And just kind of see, especially for management purposes, since they're in need of it, what their space use is like, how much space they really need to move out and around in, and what kind of habitat they're really using or that they're around the most, so that we can, if we are able to do another reintroduction, which I think there might be in the works for that in the much in the future, the agency has a really good idea of, well, this area would work really well because
From
of
your
these
research,
reasons.
knowing what habitat
Yeah.
we need and what
And
requirements.
like how much space, how
Okay.
much habitat, hopefully, is the goal for me. And
I think Jason's going
anyway.
to pull up some pictures for the ones that are listening to us on radio. We've got some really cool alligator snapping turtle pictures.
Yeah, and
I
it-
took
Yeah.
those a couple weeks
They
ago.
look great. They look
Yeah.
great.
They're
And
really
I was
good.
thinking about some of these next questions, and you'll see in these shots what
She's
y'all are doing.
yeah.
So you're putting tags, you're weighing them, you're measuring them. Just talk about the process and what you're doing there.
And explain your traps. We're talking about trapping, but for people out there, they
Oh,
may not
yes.
understand what we're doing. I have a picture of a trap on here. It's a net, but explain that because a lot of people don't realize what you're doing.
Turtle traps are a little different than your standard fishing trap. So I think most people, when they think hoop nets, they think catfish nets. And so they're like the really, like around 2-3 feet diameter, and they're really long. And you stake them out, and you stake them all the way in deep water.
Somewhere.
But for turtle nets, we don't need them to be that long. They're about, they're 3 rings, if that gives you kind of an idea. So maybe 4 or 5 feet long, maybe. And then the way you can do them different ways. You can stake them out. We put poles on ours, so we cut conduit basically and notch it and stretch the nets that way. And then we stake the nets out, and we do bait them with fresh fish, and they have like a throat in them. So instead of having a circle throat like a lot of catfish nets, they'll have kind of an elongated horizontal throat that allows more turtles to get in. And of course, when you set them, you want to set them with an air pocket because turtles can't.
They've got to be able to
They got to
breathe.
come up to air for
gotta
air.
breathe.
So that's a big difference between setting a catfish net and a turtle net. Although you will get turtles sometimes in catfish nets, regardless. But hopefully you pull them before the turtles need air. But that's basically what the nets are like. They're 3-ring hoop nets.
Now, the day that I went out with her, she caught one. They brought it back.
I did.
And then they start doing measurements and tell everybody how you do that, what you're doing.
Yeah, so after we catch a turtle, we have these huge measuring tools called calipers, which I think a lot of people may use for fish as well. I'm not sure. But they basically look like a big, long yardstick with 2 pointed ends on it. And the ends move so you can get a kind of a precise measurement on their shell. So we measure the top of the shell, which is called the carapace, and then the bottom, which is the plastron. And for alligator snappers, sometimes you'll take tail measurements to determine gender because you can't look at sexual dimorphism to sex them, and also they have to be an adult to do that. So for my study site, they're subadults, so we can't tell gender right now, but we can take those measurements to make sure that we can't
For later.
Okay. And then we use a bucket to weigh them. We just use a standard fish scale weighing device, and we use kilograms for that. The bucket usually works pretty well. If you get a really big turtle, like we got when I was a tech in Oklahoma, you kind of have to make a rope lasso around the turtle and then hold the scale up. So
Got to improvise a little bit.
yeah, sometimes big common snappers will break buckets too.
Now, and that
put
is something
holes.
that you do catch common snappers, and you'll catch alligator snappers.
Yes.
So, and you are taking measurements on some of the other ones too, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
in our trapping surveying, we get all kinds of bycatch. Red-eared sliders, map turtles, all kinds of stuff like that. And we take measurements on all of those for the most part. And we're also taking some toenail clips, and we take blood from snapping turtles. We've tried to take some blood from sliders, but it's a little more difficult process. And the toenails and the blood is just because we have a professor at Southeast Missouri State that works in toxicology. And so she wanted to look at mercury levels in turtles. Since we were out there and we were already catching the turtles.
Hey, you're already there.
Yeah,
Can you get me
she
some
was like,
Could you get me some stuff
yeah,
too?
she was like, hey, can you just cut some toenails for me? And it's just become part of the project. And
which was kind of cool because in the pictures that we showed earlier, you take the blood from the tail. So you'll clip the end of the tail, and that's where you get the blood. And you'll see that in there. And for people that not sure what's going on in the picture.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and we take the tail clip from alligator snapping turtles too, specifically because if we wanted to look at their DNA later on. In the beginning, when they first find the populations, like if we found a new population this summer, which I'm still hoping
you'll find one
in the next 2 weeks, we'll take those tissue clips and send them off to a different lab that does genetics, and then they'll see if their genes or DNA look more similar to native populations or to the DNA of the turtles that you all reintroduced, since we do have that on file. So then we know, that's how we know definitively that the population I'm looking at is reintroduced and the other population was native by looking at those DNA sequences. So, so taking the tail snip is kind of a part of that, and then also allows for us to take blood using little capillary tubes, which I think were in the photos. And it's really easy, like blood moves up capillary tubes.
Yeah.
It's
like when you go to the doctor and they're, they get, like, especially if you've had a child and they prick their finger, that's exactly what they're using. Same thing.
Right, or
and
it's like
pricking
to check your iron levels to give blood. It's the same concept. It's just a longer tube. So, and we use 3 only because sometimes different turtles don't bleed as well. So like you can kind of tell if you're getting a lot of water in the blood or things like that, and you need I think you only really need 1 tube, but sometimes you get those other things in there, so that way
well, that's like when you're at the doctor's office. They get a little extra.
They take a little more than they need just to be safe. Yeah.
And the other thing you're doing is you're putting pit tags in them.
Yes, we use pit tags are a long-term option, just in case. So
for those that don't know what a pit tag is,
it's a little transponder device.
Yep.
It's
and
like a little fuse. It's really small,
yeah,
but it's like a
really
fuse.
small. Especially, and you can get them even smaller.
It looks
for
like
different
you're using
animals.
you'll see in the photos. It looks like we're sticking a needle in one, but it's actually the syringe, and that's the pit tag going in.
Yeah, there's a little syringe needle, and then they just fit right in there, and they have a little plunger that puts in the other side, and then we have basically it's like a gun. Like if you're getting your ear pierced, it's like a little gun that you squeeze, and you just kind of hold their tail and put it in a 45-degree angle, and then just pop the tail.
And that allows you to check to see if it's one that you've caught before or not. Because you've done that before.
It's a method of knowing whether or not you've caught the turtle, and also knowing exactly what turtle it is. So that way maybe 20, 30 years from now, this project goes on again, or Tennessee wants to keep trapping that long. Who knows? And you run a pit tag
Hey,
scanner.
we got this turtle at Wolf River on this date.
Yeah. And they run a scanner over it, and they're like, oh, this has been caught before. Like, this is the number. And then they contact everyone who's trapped there or who they know. And then you could pull up the spreadsheet that I've made, and you could say, yeah, this turtle was caught, June 2017 or something.
Yeah. And then the one you caught that day, you actually put a transmitter on it so you can track it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's another reason to have pit tags too, in case transmitter failure, or maybe like the adhesive doesn't work that day or something. If it falls off and then we catch it again when we're trying to take off transmitters or doing other things, then we know like, oh, this turtle was supposed to have a transmitter. Where is it?
Yeah, but they're made to fall off, or y'all can take them off either one.
Yeah,
so.
we plan to take them off since the adhesive I used is pretty good. It's like a boat. Adhesive to patch boats, so it stays on pretty well. But
sticks to the shell pretty good.
Yeah, but you can Dremel it off pretty easily. So.
And this kind of work can be pretty dangerous. Is that right?
Yes, it is. She's got a pretty good war wound on her arm.
I do have.
I don't know if you can see it.
Everyone likes to ask about my turtle
right
scar. This is about the size of the mouth of a subadult in the Wolf River.
There you go.
And this bottom part's a little puncture wound, but it is dangerous to work with snapping turtles. I'll admit that. Although I do think if you know what you're doing and if you're being careful, you will not get bit. I think a lot of people fear that, and I will say that all turtles bite. and they will injure you. Because the thing about turtle bites,
Hey, I was there that day. I got bit.
yeah, and the thing about
I didn't know
turtle
if you were
bites,
going to say that or not.
And I know I was just not. I was too busy looking at the what was it that was on it?
leech.
A
They had
leech.
leeches.
We were too busy looking at the
Fascinated.
leech. I was fascinated
was
by the
trying to
leech,
get a picture.
and I was trying to get a picture of the leech, and bam.
Yeah, I just got your finger a little bit.
Yeah.
He got me a lot better.
Yeah,
but I was
I'm glad I don't have that.
I was lucky though because what happened, I was putting on a transmitter. So normally this wouldn't happen. Like most people aren't putting transmitters on snapping turtles.
Here comes some
And
distractions.
of course, a group of students were coming through, or a group of people, and so I was distracted. And I'm very careful, but I had him sitting with his mouth facing this way, and I was pushing the transmitter down because the adhesive's like a putty, so you kind of have to like press it into place.
You got a picture of her like they hold it down.
Yeah, so I was pressing on it with this hand, and then I pulled back and looked up at the group, and I was like, oh no, like we need to hurry, like
Here comes,
get these turtles like back in buckets away from the people. And then I reach, of course, with the wrong hand to push the transmitter again, and then Josh, Dr. Ennin, like instinctively like started to push my arm back because he could tell it was going to happen.
Seen it coming,
And
yeah.
so I like instinctively did this, and then he grabbed me here. So I was so close to getting out of that.
And of course, the first thing I asked her was, "Please tell me you got a cool picture of like a turtle hanging off your arm." But no,
no. I mean, they have those sharp little beaks, which makes them very different from commons, and they'll really dig in.
They'll
to
start
your
tearing.
skin.
They'll start.
Yeah, it tears.
You didn't
and
need
it
any
hurts.
ligaments or tendons torn.
No, thankfully he got me in a decent spot compared to where, like, if he got a finger or something, that would have been much worse. But this is not that bad.
I was glad I had something in my hand because it was a finger on. If I had not had something in my hand, it could have been bad.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But in general, not too worrisome about snappers. I don't think if you're handling from behind or with a bucket, you'll be okay.
You're okay. Hey, this was some great information. Thanks for being here.
Real
being with
quick,
us.
though,
Yeah,
anything else you want us to know about turtles?
I would say that turtles are really important. I think a lot of people think that they're a trash species and that they just tear up nets and eat fish, and they're really not. They eat a lot of detritus and dead things that pollute rivers, and I think that they're really important. And they're really fun, and if you really look at shells and what they look like, you see some really neat stuff. So
It's good.
I think
Cool.
just knowing that, turtles are an interesting species. And
Enjoy the biodiversity of
Enjoy
Tennessee.
'em,
I
yeah.
say this over and over again.
Tennessee has a lot of turtles, and they're all really unique. So
There we go.
it's cool that you even have alligator snapping turtles.
is.
You never know. If you
Yeah.
find one, I want to know about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being with us. Thanks for taking time out of your research project. And Amy, thanks for setting this up. It's been a great interview. Thanks to the Dyersburg guys here at the office for letting us be here today and use their space.
Hijack their area.
Yeah. So anyway,
Thanks for having me.
Thanks
It's
for-
fun.
thanks for what? Yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Tennessee WildCast.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.